Hey guys, today I'm going to do a little different type of video. I'm going to build a piston valve engine out of a little 3.5 horse Briggs. I was inspired to build this engine after I seen a guy on YouTube build one. His name's Charger Miles 007. I'll put a link to his channel here. Y'all check out his videos. He does a lot of interesting things with these little Briggs engines. And I want to thank him for giving me all the information I needed to build this engine. If it wasn't for him, I probably would have never even heard of this engine type. It's a 4-stroke engine, but it only uses an exhaust valve. It does not use the intake valve, and it also has no carburetor on it. This type of engine was used on the old airplanes. I'll explain it as I go exactly how it works so you can understand the principles behind the way it works. It runs like a regular 4-stroke engine. I'm using this particular block because it's got some bad scores in the cylinder and on the piston, and it don't matter in this case because the engine is going to be running without oil in it. Because you'll see me cut a hole here in the crankcase in the back side. You'll be able to see all the internal parts of the engine when it's running. And the crankcase is filled up with gasoline. And in this case I'm going to run a 2-stroke gas mix, so there's at least a little bit of oil in there. And the way it works, on top of the piston I'll be drilling a hole and putting like a flapper on it, sort of, but that's the actual valve. Then when the piston comes down on the intake stroke, it creates a vacuum and it opens the valve up on top of the piston. It allows the gas and air mixture from the crankcase to flow past it and get into the combustion chamber. Then the piston comes up on compression and fires. Then it comes down. The valve is still closed. Then the exhaust valve opens like a normal engine, and the whole process continues. Now the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tear this engine completely apart. I think I left the connecting rod loose inside. I can't remember. I've had this engine apart before. It's been a while. And I don't have a camshaft in it, so I'm going to steal a camshaft out of another engine I got. And I'm going to put my camera on time-lapse mode and be taking it apart. Okay, got it tore down here. Here's the rod bearing. As you can see, it's pretty scored up. Here's the end cap on it, which, like I said, it don't really matter on anything on this because it's going to be running pretty much without oil, except for a little bit of oil that's in the 2-stroke gas mix. The crankshaft is scored up too. I'm going to try to clean it up a little bit. Here's the head. I'm going to clean all the carbon out of it. I'll probably have to do some clearancing here. Here's the cylinder. You see it's scored pretty bad, especially right there. I found out why that's scored like that too. The rest of it ain't that bad, just that one spot there. The rest of the block's in fine shape, just need to clean it up a little bit. And yeah, on the piston, the top compression ring was broke on it. Let that focus. See there? Top compression ring's completely broke. And it's stuck on there too, and that's probably why it's scored. That stuck out, just started scratching the cylinder. So I'm going to get the rings off. I'll probably leave the oil control ring off and just use the top compression ring. I would put 2 compression rings on it, but I don't have another one for it. So we're just going to put that on there. It'd probably have lower compression, but it should be alright. More or less an experiment anyway. So let's get started. I'm not going to measure the clearance on the connecting rod because it's not really that important. It's going to be running low on oil or no oil, except for what's in the 2-stroke mix. So it's just going to wear out after a while anyway, and it's not like the engine's going to be used for anything. You can see there's quite a bit of play in it. So the engine will have a knock when it runs, and it won't surprise me if it throws a rod, but this is all I got to work with right now, so we'll just see what it does. Okay, I got the block marked off. Get ready to start cutting it out. I got it clamped to my workbench, as you can see here. I'm going to drill it out in each 4 corners so I can get the jigsaw in there to cut it out. Okay, the jigsaw blades are actually about 11/32, just a little bit bigger. I'm going to start out with a 3/16, make it easier to drill. Safety first. 1/32. Okay, I got the 4 corners drilled out. Now I'm going to cut all the way around there. There it is. Okay, this is the first step in making the actual piston valve. I cut out a piece of sheet metal. I'm getting ready to round it up, round it off, make it a perfect circle. Okay, as you can see, I put a bolt through it. The only purpose of this, so I can run in reverse and put it up against the grinder to make it perfectly round. Then after this, after I do that, I'll take the bolt back out, just put a weld on there, and then grind it smooth on that side. Okay, after I screwed that piece of metal up, I came up with a better idea. I knocked out a knockout on the breaker box here, right here, see here, and it's going to work out better than my idea before. If you look how it sits perfect like this. So when it's like this, it's going to make a perfect seal all the way around it. I just got to get the paint off of it, clean up that little notch right there, and be ready to go. Okay, I'm getting ready to drill the first hole in the piston. I'm drilling 3/16 first, and I'm going to go up to 1/2 inch. I'm just doing this to get it centered. I'm not going for perfect center, just pretty close. Well, I got the first 2 holes drilled. I'm getting ready to tap them. You can see here. Now they're not going to be in a square pattern, as you can tell. It's going to be a rectangle shape. And the only reason I'm doing that, so I have proper clearance inside, so I can get the nut in there easier. Okay, I got the 4 screws in there. I got double nuts on the bottom of the piston. I'll show you here in a little bit. I just got it set in a block temporarily. Got the rod hooked up so I can get top dead center on it. I had the bottom of it on earlier. The only reason I did this, I put black paint on it, so when it came up it hit the block, the head, so I knew where to cut it out. I just used a drill press and drilled it out. So now I got that clearance, and I'm going to pull it back out and put the piston rings back on it and start getting it ready to go. Okay, here's the piston. I just put the rings back on and put a pretty heavy coat of STP on it. I'll wipe off the excess once I drop it back in the cylinder here. I just wanted to show the nuts on the bottom here. Let me try to zoom in here. You can see how I did this. Did the same thing on all 4 of them. Now, like I said, that's a pretty scored bearing right there. Oh, I also note I decided to go ahead and use all 3 rings on there. Okay, I dropped the piston in, hooked the rod up. Getting ready to put the whole thing back together here. I left the intake valve tappet out because the engine does not use this original intake valve. It'll just use the stock exhaust valve because that valve on the piston will serve as the intake valve. Okay, I got the whole motor put back together. This is a demonstration on how this works. Okay, this is the intake stroke. It comes down, piston comes down, creating a vacuum. This valve opens, allowing the mixture of gas and air from the crankcase to pour into the cylinder. Then on compression stroke, this valve closes, compressing the fuel-air mixture. At this point, the spark plug will fire, forcing the piston down just like a regular engine. Then your exhaust valve opens, and the whole process starts all over again. And here's the exhaust I'm going to be running. Alright. This is my kill wire. Short out the metal and it'll shut off. Alright, I got it mounted on the lawnmower deck here. And as you can see, there's no blade on the there's no blade on it. I got a cast iron flywheel on it. Well, since the last piston got ruined, I'm trying to redo this since I drilled it up too big, or I don't even remember what happened. I think they stripped out and I tried to weld them using aluminum weld, and it didn't work out. Ended up overheating the piston. It actually took some of the chrome off of it because it's an aluminum bore engine. It has to have a chrome piston. So I got another piston here. I already center punched it and get ready to drill it out. We'll start out small, then we'll go up to a 1/2 inch hole like this one is. It actually turned out better than the other piston. You can see on it, I got off just a little tiny bit and went into the bracing in there. This one will probably do better. Okay, I was going to use this like I did before. I thought this was a flatter piece, but it actually rocks too. You can see. So that's bent. So I just got through making this. So that fits on there perfect. It's a little thin, a little thinner than I wanted to make it, but it should work. I made that out of the bottom of a coffee can, so it gives you an idea what type of metal it is. Just as long as the engine runs for 10 seconds, that's all I care about. So now I'm going to get this centered on here, mark the 4 holes, and go ahead and get them drilled out. Okay, I just got through center punching all these. I'm using one of these spring-loaded punches. See how that works. They work pretty good, actually. The best to have some cutting fluid, but I don't have any. Okay, got all 4 holes drilled in it. They're not exactly squared up, as you can tell. These are spread out a little further. Ain't really that critical. I got the tap in the drill press here, but I'm not going to be running it under power. Just do that to make sure it's running true. I'm going to go ahead and unplug it, but I don't want it running. What I'm going to be doing, I'm just using the drill press to get it tapped straight. I'll get it started here by hand. Probably just go all the way like this, keeping steady pressure on it. So it keeps wanting to move. It'd be better to have it in a vise. Okay, I got 2 of the screws back in it here. If you look, they have the threads halfway filed off the top of them. That's where they all are. And these are 1032, by the way. We'll put them in there. I'm going to put a nut on the inside there and snug it. I'm not going to get it real tight. That's a mistake I made on the last piston. I tried to get them too tight and I stripped out the threads in the piston itself. And I tried to weld them back and it just didn't work. Okay, just got the plate down on there. Actually, I had to make a second valve. The first one just a hair too small and it popped out real easy. And you see I got the nuts on the back here to keep them from working loose. Now just the gap that it opens, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's about a 32nd of an inch. It's about a 32 thousandths of an inch is what I gapped it at. It's tight, so it's probably actually about 31 thousandths, so it should be alright. Okay, now we'll go ahead and drop the piston back in and get it hooked up. And since the engine ain't going to have no oil in it, I'm going to put grease on the journal here. That way it won't lock up on me from running dry. If you look at the rod bearing, it's pretty scored up and the crankshaft's about the same. So this engine's liable to throw a rod out the side of it. So we'll just see what happens here. Okay, we're just dropping the piston back in it. Not to hit that valve. Okay, got the piston dropped down. Now we'll go ahead and hook up the rod bolt down here. Okay, that's the first time I ever put grease on a connecting rod. As you can see, it squeezed out there when I tightened it up. I got STP all over the cylinder and piston and rings. I'm gonna put STP on the camshaft and everything. I'll probably pack this in grease on the crankshaft bearing on the sump. And got the cover put back on here. Just doing a test spin here. You notice I only got the exhaust valve opening. So that's all you need. Because that's the new intake valve. I got plenty of oil down there. I'm going to wipe a little bit of excess off. Because since the engine ain't going to be having any oil in it, your cylinder wall takes a lot of abuse. And I'm getting ready to put the head back on it. This is the head I had to do some clearancing on, as you can tell. And that ain't the prettiest because I don't have a milling machine or anything. I did that on the drill press with the drill bit. And I'll be using a regular head gasket on it. Okay, ran into a problem here. The top dead center, the top of the piston, the 4 bolts is hitting the head. Must not have clearanced that enough, so I'm going to have to put a second head gasket on there to raise the head up. Okay, just put the second head gasket on it. Now I'm going to check for compression. We got compression now. Okay, you're looking in the back of the hole there, the back of the block. Crank it over, you can watch everything move inside. There's a slightly different angle. Should be able to see the piston moving a little bit.